everybody. Welcome to Relationship Matters, Empowering Conversations. It's so good to have you join us today. And I'm really excited about this episode. And the reason I am is because I'm going to be talking with Teresa Ramirez, and we're going to talk about kindness. And the reason why that's so important, I think, if you haven't noticed, our world is lacking kindness. we are going through a kindness drought, if we could put it that way. And so Teresa is a motivational speaker, kindness ambassador for loving parents who want to raise kind children. Boy, is that ever needed today. Today's parents can see how some troubled teens are turning to devastating acts of violence because they see no other way. Consequently, parents want to make sure that they are doing everything in their power to raise healthy, happy, kind children. Though through her divinely inspired video messages, blog posts, and fun with bubble style, she's here to encourage parents to be the CEO of their families, cultivating an atmosphere of fun, happy moments with their children through the acts of kindness. When she's not uplifting parents, you can find her volunteering at a home for life, enjoying time with her sons, delighting in her pets, which you might see one make an appearance here, and hiking and kayaking. Welcome to Relationship Matters, Teresa.
Well, thank you, Mark. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, it's so good to have you. And I've been a proponent. I teach parenting courses myself, and I just think, and of course I'm a relationship guy, and so I'm just very much wanting to hear what you have to say today. Even in the bio, you can see that the importance of intentional parenting towards kindness. Maybe you could share just a little bit about your journey in kindness. How did this come up? When did it start? And what's it look like?
It actually started with a school shooting, sadly enough, back in 2018. I think it was the Parkland, Florida school shooting. And I don't know what prompted that one over any other one. It just was. And I just said, we've got to be able to do something. And, our kids reaching out to each other, is that kid sitting all alone in the cafeteria? If somebody drops their pencil, are we helping them? Are you helping pick up books or whatever? Are you reaching out to your fellow students? So I kind of started talking to the kids and just say, you give them power. I wanted them to feel empowered, that they didn't have to feel helpless. And then COVID hit. And we all know what happened when COVID hit. So everybody's on social media. And then I'm starting to read what people are putting on social media. And I said, oh my, adults were just being nasty to each other. And one was some woman reached out for help. She brought in her dad, which, at the time I was caring for my parents. So it hit me hard, and she ended up with 4 dogs, but she wasn't, working full time, taking care of her parent, now moved in with them, and she couldn't take care of 4 dogs. So she said, I don't want them to go to a shelter. I don't want them to be put to sleep. Can somebody take the pair? They're a bonded pair. And this woman came on and just attacked her and, said, well, how awful, you're going to take them to a shelter and kill them. Well, she already said she didn't want to do that. And that just was like, I think I need to get to the parents. Because if your children are seeing this post, which everybody, hear these words, your kids read what you post. They hear everything you say. Don't think they don't. And so I thought I need to empower parents to become the CEO of their family, to create a value and a philosophy system that they want to instill in their children. So I've kind of switched gears a little bit. I still talk to children whenever asked, but I really focus on the parents now, because they need to instill that. In any corporation, your CEO sets the tone. That's what you have to do with your family. Set that tone, set that value system. And that's how this all has gotten started. And I started out with just, making kindness as natural as breathing. Make it a habit, and just little things. Return the shopping cart, open doors, please and thank you, which has gone out the window. I don't know what happened. the people
It has,
think.
it truly has.
Yeah, so just starting with those little ways to make a habit, to make habits and make it as natural as breathing. And then I have now kind of gone into how to be kind in difficult situations as things come up, and little tools you can use.
Right.
But it takes practice. Like everything else you do, it takes practice.
Yeah, or as I always say, simple, not easy. So
Yes,
you
yes,
got to practice, practice, practice. Otherwise, it's just a theory. And so,
right. And I do try to keep it as simple as possible, because I know parents are inundated with so much stuff. So I didn't want to dump a whole lot more on top of their already full plates.
yeah.
So I've tried to come up with some simple tools that'll help.
So share a few of those simple tools with us, because the key for me, of course, is that kindness impacts relationships positively and unkindness impacts them negatively. So what are some simple tools, takeaways that people could, listening to this, could just take away right away and start to put the practice of kindness into their lives?
Yeah. One of the things I think you have to change your perception, meaning that you have to realize, and a lot of people don't, that you can only change how you react to a situation. You can't change the other person, but you
Right.
can change how you react. And then the way you react oftentimes does change, turns the situation around.
Right.
So I say practice your pause. However you can remember to do that. And again, practice, practice, practice. So whether it be sticky notes everywhere, which I'm a queen of sticky notes, whether it be a worry stone in your pocket, a big note on your horn on your car, so you don't go into road rage, however you can practice your pause, because then that gives you a time to take a breath and think,
Right.
instead of react. And I think that's huge, because I think we, as a society right now, it's all reaction. And it's, as you said, it is not pleasant out there right now. And we have to control our reactions. So practice your pause, and however you can make that. And you can start also at home. If before you send your children out the door, put a sticky in their lunchbox, put your spouse, put a note in the briefcase or backpack, whatever they carry, put a note by the coffee maker that says, hey, I'm thinking of you today. I appreciate you. Your kids, you're smart. Say they have a big math test, put a note on their book that says, you got this.
Right.
So it takes a little bit of planning, but it's doable. It's doable.
Yeah.
And if you have, like me, I have sticky notes everywhere. It makes it easier. It makes it easier. So that's how you can start it out. Start everyone in your home, start their day off right.
Yeah, I wonder if you couldn't even put there, now pass this encouragement on to your friends.
Yes, absolutely. Pay
it
it forward.
that
Pay
whole
it
concept
forward.
of paying it forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And also when you're practicing the pause, during that pause, you also have to remember, it's not, that person might be just going off, but it's not always about you.
Yeah.
So before, again, respond, you're like, when they're done with their rant, say, how can I help you?
Yeah.
What do you need? And that can be your spouse, that can be your child. And it's difficult. Families are the hardest, I think, because we just think we can do anything with the family. And that's where it needs to start, with your family. Right. And let them know you appreciate them. And, sometimes you come home and you have a bad day. And so just sitting back, letting them vent, and then saying, what can I do?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think we often think it's harder than it is, but we put less, it's actually, it is simpler than we think. And, but it's not as hard, but it does take effort. I think, intentionality is so important in relationships. And so in family relationships, especially, that intention, that little thing like a note in the lunch is such a powerful tool. And so So number one is to practice the pause, learn how
Yes.
to collect your thoughts before you speak or
Yes.
whatever. And then the second one then is to proactively show kindness and model kindness to
Hmm.
by giving notes and doing the extra little things that express kindness.
Right. Exactly.
What's the
Um,
other one?
and I have so many that fall under that, but I kind of wanted to get through the 3 steps. This next one is humor. Now, I am not naturally humorous, but I have walked in, I've been with my kids, walked into a room and they're just going at it. And I'm like, okay, sounds like the devil's winning today. And they just, what are you talking about?
You're talking about
But
love.
they do laugh because they're like, okay, she's off her rocker yet again. But it's an effective tool. It stops. It makes them stop. And then we can sit down and calmly talk about
Right.
whatever started the confrontation. But because I'm not naturally funny, I do get this out. And this, I have done this on the road as well. I get out my clown nose.
Yeah.
And again, it stops people. And 9 times out of 10, after the initial shock of seeing somebody with a big red nose on, they start laughing. So
Yeah.
it starts to turn the situation around a
Well,
little bit. So
for your kids, probably.
if you're naturally funny and can come up with the one-liners like that, go for it. I'm just not.
Well, probably that's what makes you funny to your kids is that you're not funny, but you're
Yeah.
trying to be funny.
Like, what's she doing now?
Yeah.
And then the last one I wanted to just touch, like I said, we can go through this all day long and I've got lots of suggestions, but the last one is you don't have to engage. You do not have to attend every argument you're invited to.
Right.
And by the same token, you don't have to invite everyone to your argument. So, sometimes you just don't engage in it. Just
Mhm.
just don't go there.
Yeah.
If you have different political views, don't talk about politics.
Right.
If you've got that pro-choice, pro-life thing, don't talk about it. Those are triggers.
Right.
And most 9 times out of 10, who you're talking to, what their trigger is. So why? There's no point. And really in today's society, we hit people's trigger and we do it on purpose. And I don't know why. There's no point to that. And
Well, yeah, we're
back
trying
to,
we want to win, so we think if we trigger them, then we win, but we don't.
but you don't win. And especially, and that's a great thing to remember. You know what your triggers are for your spouse. And you know it better than anyone. And sometimes in relationships, we purposely hit a trigger. And there's no point. And it comes down to, okay, like you were saying, we want to be right, we want to win. But
Yeah.
what's more important? And
Yeah.
especially in relationships, what's more important? To be
Right.
right or to be kind?
Yeah. I often tell people that you can be right and wrong at the same time.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And so I like that kindness thing. So sometimes kindness is withholding something that
Hmm.
you have said that you shouldn't have said or that you shouldn't
Yeah.
say. So sometimes it's withholding. So an act of kindness is not making a point. I always say you can, if you selectively, you can have some selective losses that become victories because you just don't need to win that battle. Let them win. So I like that. Don't invite people in. Max Lucado
Yes.
said, "Conflict's inevitable, combat's optional." So that's kind of what you're talking about.
Exactly.
Don't feel like you're being invited into an argument, and don't
Right.
invite others into an argument.
And
Yeah.
and sometimes, again, this goes back, practicing that pause is huge.
Right.
And it goes back to that. Sometimes when your kid comes home or your spouse comes home and they're just angry at something that happened outside that front door, sometimes they just need to vent.
Yeah.
And so listening, and I know with your relationships, I'm sure that's a big tip
Yeah.
with that, just listening to what
Yeah.
they have to say.
Right.
And then there's always, every once in a while, sometimes it's best just to walk away.
Yeah.
Yeah, engage, just walk away. It's not worth it. Just walk away, give everybody time to cool down, and then come back and then have that discussion.
Mm, it's good. That's good.
Yeah. Um, and we can go back. I can go on all day. Go ahead. Go ahead, Mark.
Go ahead, go on. Well, keep
No,
going.
I was
This
just,
is good
I
stuff.
said also when in that pause moment and you're ready to say something and you're in the pause moment, you have to think, is what you say true? Is what you say necessary? And
Yeah.
is it kind? A lot of things might be true, but did you really need to say, you look hideous today? Is that you really, or I can't believe you did that. It
Yeah.
wasn't necessary. It really wasn't necessary. It really wasn't kind. It might be true, but
Right.
why? Again, I always go, why did we have to go there? You don't have
Right.
to go there.
Yeah. So maybe it's about choosing kindness, and I always say it's important to hold the relationship above the issue or above the
Mhm.
circumstance. And maybe choosing kindness is a way of doing that. It's a very practical method of saying, okay, I believe this. I believe that if you choose kindness as a value, and it's written in your heart, deep in your heart, then your natural response, you're going to train yourself till your natural response is, okay, how do I respond with kindness on this one, but still have my needs met, still be able to communicate what my needs are. And I think that if we choose kindness first, it like opens the door for maybe the more difficult conversation.
Well, and that goes into, what kind of environment do you want to create? What kind of home do you want to create? Do you want that hostile, angry, nasty environment? Or
Right.
do you want the kind, loving, peaceful, compassionate environment in your home?
Right.
And actually, that all, when you're creating that peaceful, loving environment, that carries outside the home
Right.
as well.
Yes, it does. In fact, whatever you manifest within the home is going to manifest outside the home
Exactly.
in the same way as whatever you manifest in your own heart is going to come
Mhm.
out somewhere. And
Exactly.
so,
No, that's true. That is so true. So true.
yeah, yeah. So that's so you. What are some other ways that then we can like? Because I just think this is such a. I mean, it sounds simplistic, but
Yeah.
it's such a huge problem today. I mean, and you're right about this modeling thing about parents
Hmm.
modeling kindness.
Be the
Like,
seed.
how do you talk to or how do you treat servers or people that are serving you in front of your children? I often tell this in the parenting class, like, they catch more than they're taught, and so, what are some ways that specifically
Yes.
that somebody can actually choose this and implement it into their lives?
And I just did this not too long ago. We were at a restaurant and the server was rude, so rude. She was just like, they just called me in here and told me I had to wait tables. And she was just not a happy camper. And
Yeah,
I'm looking at my friend going, oh, geez, here we go. Should we get up now? you know, so she wasn't happy. And at the end of the meal, we paid, we tipped. But this is something I have started doing because someone gave me cards like this for Christmas. And now I get them every Christmas. They're little cards and they have little positive sayings. This happens to be happy. And it says, delight in the beauty that surrounds you. And I put something like this when I paid the bill.
um,
She chased us out the door and she said, thank you.
oh,
I needed that so bad.
right.
And you don't, now these are little notes only because I get them. You can write a little note on the bill when you
Yes.
pay it. You can do anything. But, I just did that because that's what I do. Kindness is a lifestyle for me. But it made so much difference to that one server.
Yeah.
Huge, huge difference.
And guess what? She's going to be less rude to the next clients, to the next
Exactly.
people
What
she serves.
her whole day got turned around.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so it's, little things like that. Um, this is another thing I witnessed in the grocery store. There was a mom with the crying toddler in the cart, and she's trying to open one of those lovely produce bags. And we have all been there, even without a crying toddler, wanting to come on, open.
Yeah.
and her stress level, you can see it. Her stress level was going off the charts. And
Right.
some gentleman came over, opened her produce bags, handed it back to her, said something to the child, which made the child stop crying. And you could just see the absolute relief on that woman's face, and her stress level just went, whew.
Such a simple thing.
Exactly.
Such a
Simple, easy, easy, easy.
kindness is so much easier than rudeness.
Mm-hmm.
It's
It
so much
is.
it's so much easier. We don't think of it though. We don't think about that. We're so locked up in our own whatevers that we
Yes.
don't realize. But it actually, you bring up an interesting point. Like, what if we actually scheduled kindness? Like, what if we started to put in like and scheduled it? So we actually put it right in our schedules. I'm gonna, put notes and lunches this day. I'm going to do
Mm-hmm.
this day, or think about people and need that need some encouragement. I know that for me, I discovered my purpose in life was to be an encourager, so that's why I do all of this. And so that's what I'm looking for, opportunities to encourage people. So what if we look for opportunities to be kind and to show kindness, and how it could change our whole environment. We live in a condo building. I'll tell you a story. We live in a condo building, and there is some tension in the strata group, and so there was a bit of tension between a couple of different neighbors and whatnot, and it's easy to get caught up on a side or another side. And I chose Sandy and I, just my wife and I, wanted to just be a blessing somehow to break the thing. And so we went out and bought a little $2 plants, and we put one on each door of our building.
That's very
And
nice.
we just put a little verse on it, that it was an encouraging verse, and saying, "Hey, we're praying for y'all," or something to that effect. And it was amazing, the response from people, that
Mm-hmm.
it broke something in the environment of our building. And I wonder if kindness can't do that. Where if you're stressed at work, what is something that somebody could do in terms of kindness to break the stress at work?
And that can be, oh, you can organize, a potluck, bring in something. I love the plant idea. You could bring in plants for your little team. Um, Gosh, there's so many things, but leave notes, leave sticky notes, little messages for your team. There's I had a good one for work, and I'm just blanking right now, but the potluck thing, the
It'll come
potluck
back.
always did well when I was in corporate America. They love food, always went over huge.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But the other thing, while you were talking, I was thinking, and I forgot to bring this up, but kindness, everybody go, well, that sounds so nice, and it's all fluffy and this and that. And I said, but there is scientific evidence
Ah,
that proves that it does change the way your biology works.
yeah.
And if,
You
for
tell.
example, you and I exchange an act of kindness, your serotonin levels go up, and so do mine. And
Ah,
serotonin are your happy hormones. So we got two happy people. But then and this fascinates me every time I say it, if someone witnesses that act, their serotonin levels also go up. So
wow.
you've created this ripple of kindness.
Yeah.
You didn't even know it. And I always say, if everybody's creating a little ripple in their corner of the world, at some point they're going to all merge and create a wave of kindness that washes across this country. And it is, like we said, so needed right now.
Yeah. And so that's very interesting, the science of that. So you're saying that when somebody witnesses kindness, or an
Mhm.
act of kindness, or whatever, it literally changes the brain chemistry in their head, so that it releases the serotonin, or the dopamine,
Exactly.
the good
The
chemicals in
good
their head,
stuff.
versus the bad chemicals in the head. And
Exactly.
and so now, if you don't know, that's okay. But I'm wondering, would this not help with mental illness? Like, would it help? Like, I realize that there's most mental illness is got some level of chemical imbalance or
Mhm.
brain injury in some way, but it may it mean I've witnessed in my practice that it does make a difference with somebody. Because somebody has mental health issues does not mean that they should be isolated and alone, and in fact the opposite, right? And so
Exactly.
would do you think that kindness would actually help balance out?
Yes, I do. And since a lot of the school shootings are based because somebody had a mental health issue, but
Yeah,
I do because there is my guru. His name is Dr. David Hamilton, and that's what he focuses on. And he talks about it helping mental health issues because it does bring up serotonin, oxycodone, um, dopamine. It does change all that. It
right.
also lowers your blood pressure. It also helps your heart. He can go on and on because as that's his degree
As
is
a
in that.
doctor, yeah.
That. So yeah, that's he goes into all of the health issues, but it makes you healthier, and
Right.
people live longer. All of that
So
comes out of
so if
kindness.
somebody is watching and they have some mental health issues, rather than letting the stigma of it defeat
Mhm.
you, what if you moved in the opposite spirit? What if you actually started to show kindness to others and you started being kind as a way of pulling yourself out of that dark
Mhm.
hole, that depression hole, whatever? Like I know my wife has struggled with clinical depression over the years, and some of that came from trauma in her childhood. But she has more than not served other people, and she's helped other people, and it seemed to help her. It actually helped her mental health when she's wanting to, sometimes she just has to do an act of kindness, and it pulls her out of that little bit of a hole that she's sliding into. That's a fascinating thought if you
No,
think.
I think according to Dr. Hamilton, yes, that can actually do that. And I always say, you have to make kindness as natural as breathing. You make it a lifestyle. So if you sit, at the night before, say, we're doing this for tomorrow, you make a list of all the acts of kindness you want to perform the next day. You make that list. And when you get up in the morning, here's my list. Here's my to-do list of
Right.
acts of kindness. And you do that. And that's changing the serotonin levels, the dopamine levels. It's changing that. So yeah, it definitely can help.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So do you have a story or
Oh
uh,
my gosh.
of where you saw, yeah, I'm sure you got lots of them, where you saw kindness actually change a situation in a relationship or change a situation in a,
Well, yeah, that server was probably,
yeah,
the two
that's
I
good.
gave you to absolutely. And I know a woman, the proverbial pay for the coffee for the person behind you.
Yeah, yeah,
And she said, one day somebody paid for my coffee. And she said, wow. She said that just warmed her heart and made her set the pace for the whole day. And I'm doing now this Step It Up in 2023. Yeah, pay for your coffee. But how about this? Most of the people in line to get coffee, most of the people in line at the fast food restaurant can afford to pay for those things. So instead of paying for the coffee or fast food, why don't you call your local school district and say, hey, can I pay off an overdue lunch account for a child?
Hmm, great
And
idea.
that and then the nobody knows where it came from. And so you've made someone, probably eased a parent. They might be having financial struggles, whatever, you don't know. But what a great way to just step things up just a little bit and make a huge impact.
Right. You bring up a point there that maybe we haven't talked about that I think could be important, and that is we don't. It's not kindness if we have to be rewarded for it. It's
Right.
it's if it's transactional, we're doing something for somebody in order to get a response or a return on that investment. That's transactional. That's not relational.
Right.
Kindness in the way you're talking about is a lifestyle. Is not. It's. I think it's worth mentioning that it's not. It can't be transactional because if you don't get a response, you're going to feel bad. You're going to feel like you're not. I've had people tell me, I do things for other people and they never do it for me. Well, I have to ask, why are you doing it for other people then? If
Right.
it's transactional, then it's not got the same value. So I think it's important to mention here that you're not promoting this idea of a journey in kindness to say, hey, if you're kind, you're going to get more kindness back. We will, because there's a
Right.
soul reaping, but that's not why we do it. I think authenticity is important in this.
Yeah, just like my friend with the coffee, she never expected to get a free coffee. And
Right.
that's why I think it was kind of that meant so much more to her, because it wasn't something.
Right.
And yeah, it's all about just, the lunch. If you pay for a lunch account, you're never going to see that reaction. But okay, so you helped out. You made a parent's life maybe a little bit easier.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, and I do want to stress this too, kindness doesn't have to cost anything.
Right.
You don't have to buy something. The sticky notes, the produce bag, the note I left for the server, all of those things.
It's manners.
It's basic manners, and you don't see it and I laughed about, I was in, I don't know, some discount store, and I was walking through the parking lot, and there's these carts in the middle of the parking space.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I collect the carts and put them in the thing. And then I'm like, okay, let's step it up for 2023. Now they have little carts and big carts. Well, you put the little carts on one side, make sure you put the other side, size them up. But again, that didn't cost me anything. Right. And most of the time I'll just grab a cart and keep on going into the store. And you've helped out. But again, you've helped out. A lot of stores don't have the right amount of help right now for whatever reason. Yeah. And then somebody who wants to park now can easily park in that space. So you've done a lot of good. And no, you may not see the return on that, but it was the best thing to do, the kind thing to do.
The return on it is your own serotonin levels.
Exactly. It is. It's
just being a good person. It's being the right, whatever. It's reflecting. For me, it's I'm a person of faith, so it's reflecting God's love out.
Exactly.
It radiates, and there's a verse in the Bible that talks about the kindness or the goodness of God leads man to repentance. So it's not religion wants to put burden on people. I think faith or kindness actually lifts burden off of people.
Exactly.
And so I think that's a really interesting point, that kindness actually lifts burdens off of people. It is so simple. Just a simple act of kindness can actually lift a burden. That's amazing.
It's kind of sad that we have to go back to basic manners, but it's a place to start, and then you just build from there.
Yeah. I think the most profound thing you've said is that you make it a lifestyle. Kindness has got to be a lifestyle. And I think that's a choice, and awareness gives you choice. So if you're now listening to this, you are now aware that kindness changes chemical in the brain, and you're aware that it can actually lift a burden off of somebody, including yourself. And so maybe now that you're aware, you have a responsibility to actually start to develop a lifestyle of kindness.
Absolutely. And then if you take that step further, if we're all doing those little acts of kindness and creating those ripples, we can make a difference. We can change things. The school shootings, I know in my heart that we can at least reduce that number drastically if we're all reaching out.
Yeah, and if we're teaching our kids how to reach out, because a lot of times these are kids that were rejected and bullied and whatnot, and they have their own mental health issues. But if kindness was shown to them at any level, we may not have seen what we saw.
Right. Exactly.
Right? That's what you're implying there. Yeah, that's so good. Any other thoughts that you want to share on kindness?
Oh, I always have thoughts. They just
keep coming.
You just keep them coming. No, and I said, another thing that we went back to our faith, that they just said, God always says you can lead good lives by controlling your tongues and your lips. So be aware, words make a difference. So what are you saying? Are you, saying kind things to people? Sometimes people say, and they don't even think about it, say some really nasty things, but instead get in the habit of complimenting people.
Right.
I'm a big shoe person. So if you got cute shoes on, I'm going to tell you. And the more compliments you give, and again, if you're seeing somebody having a bad day, change your weight, pause, and then change it. And you can just giving them compliments. Hey, you look really nice today. You did great on that presentation. I wish I could be more like you. When you're complimenting somebody, it's really hard for them to come back with a nasty comment. They just they might start to say, and they're like, the more you're complimenting, the more you're giving positive feedback, the less they're likely to say anything nasty. It just goes away because you just can't.
It's like the principle of hot coals, right? You show kindness to somebody, it's pretty hard to get mad at them.
Exactly.
Kindness to
you. You just can't. And I go back that server discussion. Maybe I should have said something to her earlier. But she got the point, and that was great.
Yeah. I think it's such an important conversation to have. I think it's so simple that we miss it. That as I'm thinking about what you're saying, and I'm thinking, man, it can profoundly change a person's day, and it can change your day profoundly if you choose kindness. And I look at the cause and effect. I'm always looking at cause and effect. So, when we have pain and we have hurt deep down, then that's the cause. The effect is that we can be rude, we can be standoffish, we can be, selfish, we can be self-focused. We try to protect ourselves. And so, and yet what I'm hearing today and the simplicity of your message is that actually kindness could heal that inner pain. Just by being kind, it could actually heal that inner pain by moving in the opposite spirit of what you felt. If you felt rejection, what if you were inclusive? What if you invited people to the table? If you were, if you feel like you're failing, how about you help somebody else succeed? And I wonder how that would change our people's lives and heal that inner pain. That's Sandy's and my story. In our healing journey, we started giving back. We started serving others. We started putting other people first, and we started to, be people of compassion and encouragers. And that it didn't change the lives around us as much as it changed ours.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, because when you have a lifestyle of kindness, it's pretty hard to be offended. It's pretty hard to be offended by people.
Well, and I found it's almost an addiction. For me, I'm almost addicted to it. If I don't do something kind, it's like, oh gosh. or some days when I'm walking through that parking lot, oh shoot, there's that cart way over there. I'm tired, but because I can't not push it to where it goes to free up a parking space. I can't anymore. It's kind of funny. And I do want to say one other thing, because I know when I talked about this before, I had such a huge response. Road rage.
Right.
And that's, I even put a big sticky note on my horn because I love my horn. And I put stop and on big letters. And I think I even used my nose one day, which I think almost caused the poor guy to wreck his car after that. But that's a reaction. And we want to really practice the pause when we're on the road, because you don't know what that other person's going through. 9 times out of 10, they don't even realize they cut you off.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's make everyone's commute calm and compassionate by keeping a note over that horn. Leave that horn alone, and remember your kids are watching. Your kids are watching.
Yes.
So if those lovely flowery words come out of your mouth or hand gestures, your kid's watching. So what's your kid's going to pick up?
Yeah, I actually heard a story. It's not my story; it's somebody else's. But I heard a story one time that this guy was, a guy was running, weaving in and out of traffic, going quite fast, and the guy telling the story said he got quite offended by it, and he was road raging, and he pursued the guy and followed the guy, and he come up beside him, he's honking and telling him to pull over, and he gets him to finally pull over, and like by almost cutting him off to pull him over, and he gets back there and the guy's in panic mode. His wife's in the back seat having a baby.
Oh.
And the guy felt horrible, of course, because he realized, oh, shoot.
You don't know what other people are going through.
You don't know what other people are going through.
Yeah,
Assumption's the enemy of faith. If you want to have a faith in people, don't assume things. So
exactly.
So I think anyway, that was a funny story. He tells it pretty funny.
It's a good one.
You can imagine how I felt coming up to the car and hear the wife's, in full labor, and I'm cutting him off, and he just wants to get to the hospital.
Well, and I've seen people at an exit ramp, which they have clearly been at each other all the way down the freeway, that got out of their car and fist fight. And I'm like, why? Again, you've ruined everybody's day.
Yeah, and put people's lives at risk.
Exactly.
And for what? And for what?
And for what? Because you cut 2 seconds off my commute. Now it took me 2 seconds more to get to work. And because that's what it comes down to. If somebody cuts you off, for example, it comes down to seconds. Yeah. Is it a big, is it worth it?
Right. Is it worth ruining your day? I mean, how do you come into work after that road rage experience, right? And
exactly. And remember, your kids are watching, your children are watching, and that's what are you teaching them?
Yeah, that's the big thing. All right, where are you teaching this stuff? How do people get a hold of you?
They can get a hold of me via Facebook. And there's the address right there. And
I'll put this in the show notes as well, so people can just click on it.
Yeah, and I speak to churches, clubs, organizations, schools, PTOs, where Rotary clubs, because that was a few months ago. I did one of those, and wherever you want to learn more about kindness and how you can make simple contributions in your life, I'm available to speak.
Now, you also have a YouTube channel, but it's just a bunch of numbers. I'll put that in the link.
Okay.
YouTube channel, you just do talks about it? The
YouTube are just my weekly videos, little snippets, little tidbits, little hints.
Remember how to be kind.
Yes.
Tidbits. and so that was so the YouTube channel, that's just a bunch of numbers. We didn't get I'll put the link in the show notes.
Okay.
Is it your name or is it the Journey in Kindness?
It's Journey in Kindness.
Yeah. So if you're on YouTube, you can just, put in search Journey in Kindness and Teresa Ramirez, and you'll probably find it there.
Yes.
Yeah, but I'll put it in the show notes as well. So thank you, Teresa. This has been great. I mean, I think some people might listen to this and say, well, duh.
But it's not happening.
But it's not happening. And you know what? I learned a long time ago, we need to stop being the complainers and start being the solution, right? So we want to,
exactly.
So if you're seeing problems out there, if you're recognizing what we're talking about, that there's a absence of kindness in the world, and there's and there's anxiety and stress and all of these things post-COVID that are happening in people. Kindness is a way to cut through all of that. Kindness is a way to get through difficult situations and difficult times. If you choose kindness, not only will it brighten your day, change your day, it'll also change someone else's. And Teresa, it's such a simple but profound message. Like literally, if you want to change your life, practice kindness.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Practice kindness.
Absolutely.
Any closing thoughts?
Just practice, and make it a lifestyle.
Plan.
It will change your life.
Put it in your schedule.
Yes.
I love that part.
I do too.
Plan it. Practice pause. Try,
Yes.
find ways intentionally to show
Yes.
kindness and include your kids. We didn't get to that part, but invite your kids into a kindness project. What would it look like if your family went on and had a kindness month where you went and did random acts of kindness for neighbors and for others? What a lesson for your kids. What a lesson for your kids to learn. Like, that puts it into practice for them. So you can go serve at a soup kitchen. You can go serve at a homeless shelter. You take your kids. We took our kids to a feeding center one time, and we called it a hero holiday. We went and served at our holidays. That's what we wanted. We wanted to teach the kids that value, and they're adults now, and they still say that was their favorite vacation we had.
Well, and another simple thing is, especially here in Cincinnati in the fall, we've had people that had, elderly people with disabilities that can't clean up their own yards. Go look you don't have to look very far than your own street or your own neighborhood to find ways to be kind.
Yeah. Grab your kids, grab a couple snow shovels and go shovel some snow. Go mow a lawn. Don't expect anything in return.
Pull some weeds.
They're doing that because kindness is what a good neighbor looks like.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll remember that one.
Please do. Anyway, thanks so much, Teresa. This has been rich, and really appreciate your input and the simplicity of your message and the simplicity of your steps. I think that's very practical. So I want to encourage you listeners, do something today. Don't you listen for 47 minutes here. You've listened to this podcast. Don't just listen to it and say, oh, that was nice, and move on. Do something today. Do an act of kindness. Like, when you turn this off, go and do something immediately that is kindness, and then start doing it every day. And you're going to change the world. That's what a world changer looks like. Mm-hmm. Right, Teresa?
It is. That is exactly what it looks like.
Well, absolutely. Teresa, thank you for being a world changer. Thank you for bringing this message to the world. And I hope we got a little further today. In hearing, I'm from Canada, so we know it's going to be listened to in Canada. And so let's keep this message going. Let's make kindness our journey. Let's make kindness our lifestyle.
Yeah, it is our journey. And thank you, Mark, so much for having me and helping me spread the kindness message.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks again. We'll see you next episode, and have a great week, and go be kind. Thanks.